Julian Aciard, who is running for Congress in New Hampshire's 1st District, which is so exciting to always have you in studio. And of course, we met down at CPAC, which was incredible. And possibly you're going to be going again.
I might even be speaking at CPAC Dallas.
Look at that. That's next week. No.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, that's coming up fast.
Might even, all I got to do is fundraise. Honestly,
the biggest.
That's the only thing I really need to do in this race is, sorry.
You ran down to pay your parking. It's like, hold on.
You realize how out of shape you are when you actually try to do something?
And you gotta go down those steep stairs and come back up.
Oh, sprinting upstairs. It's never fun. But, yeah, I went to CPAC this past year, and I put in a lot of work trying to change how we talk about issues. To actually talk about issues, because you sell the solution to people's problems, not the party. You sell the solution, not the party. Again, sell the solution, not the party.
Yes, and I actually got invited to go back down again, and I'm gonna see if we can finagle that, but I have to bring the family to Texas. I can't, like.
I wanted to, but then I remember, like, CPAC, I had no time.
No time, but
it was late nights and early mornings, and my kids, my kids are not going to get to have any fun. So I was like, I don't want to bring the kids because they're going to want to go explore the city, and I'm not going to be able to take them. I'm not going to be able to show them anything.
But even if they're just out, like, and I was thinking the same thing, but then I'm like, well, it's even getting out to a new place.
It will be different in Orlando next year. Match Slap, you need to do it in Orlando. That's not a request. You do it in Orlando. Don't do it in D.C. again. Yeah. We need to do it in Orlando. That was fantastic. Then all of our families can all go to Disney World.
And which I didn't get to. And
no.
We wanted to, everybody was just like,
I was so busy.
I was so busy and had no voice and was so tired.
Oh, yeah.
But it was worth it. And the same thing with, would you put them on the wrong way again?
Yeah. I could barely speak at the end of CPAC. My voice was shot because, of course, I'm a big cigars guy.
Yes.
And it's all well and good when, there's only a few of you smoking cigars, but then there's everybody else shows up with cigars, and they're brand new. Yeah, and then they're like brand new to it, so they're like, hey, I want you to try this, and I want you to try that, and I want you to try this, and then all of a sudden, 1 or 2 cigars becomes like 6 or 7.
Oh my
cigars.
Gosh, that makes my stomach hurt.
And at the end of it, you're like, I can't taste anything.
It's just terrible.
And oh yeah, the whole time. Like, I went from the beginning of CPAC being able to sing like Marvin Gaye to sound like...
Yes, you
what was it? The blue stars.
Oh my God.
Oh, like, I was so, like, raspy and stuff. I was like,
I didn't even have a voice when I got back.
No.
It was like
the final night, that cocktail lounge, from the beginning of the cocktail lounge to the end of it, I was like, hi guys, how's it going this night? And then we had this interview with my buddy Ivan, and he filmed me speaking with another candidate, and I was defining what the left has perverted today, as defining racism as a scale of perceptual racism, from passive ignorance, which is where most people are, where we just don't know what we don't know, and you can't be blamed for that. And on the other end is active malice, which is actual hate, actual neo-Nazis, actual hate. As you start to transition that scale, you go from passive ignorance to active ignorance. You don't know something and you don't want to know. Then you go to passive malice, where you're like, I don't like, so you start to disdain.
Yeah.
And it's unconscious. Then you hit conscious, that active malice, where you're just like, I don't like you, and I know exactly why I don't like you. Even if I'm wrong, I don't care, because I just don't like you. It's like that movie, I just want to punch your face.
Oh.
Is there anything that I can do about that? No. There's nothing you can. Get a new face. It's exactly like that. But, so I had a great time at CPAC. It was fun. I might even be speaking on stage. And
That'd be awesome.
I'm hoping, because we need to change how we discuss things.
Right.
We need to actually talk about solutions to people's problems. So let's talk about a solution. Right now, the federal government is spending.
Oh,
And the
wow.
founding fathers knew that this would happen, that if you didn't restrict government, it would always find a use for the revenue, the maximum revenue that it can collect. We have been spending for well over decades.
Yeah, we're like in the
More.
gazillions, right?
Yeah, we've been spending more than we've taken in for decades. That's like, I'm going to cut projected spending by 30%. Projected increases in spending by 30%. It's like, okay, what were your projected increases? 5,000%. So you're only going to spend, what, half of that? You're going to spend 1,300% of what we normally spend? Yes. That doesn't sound like a
And
cut.
everybody's like, great idea.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, free money from government. That sounds great.
Mm.
No, it's not great. It's not great because they're leveraging you.
Exactly.
The government does not produce anything. It leverages the backs of its citizens for money. So it's saying our citizens are estimated to produce X, Y, and Z. We're going to leverage their production and what we can tax from them to X, Y, or to or they produce ABC and we're going to tax to X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So that we can accomplish this. Well, guess what? They've exceeded what they can collect from our generation by far. So they're actually taxing our kids and our grandchildren.
Right.
And very soon we will be taxing our great grandchildren.
And we've been
And they're
saying
not
this has
even
been
born
said
yet.
for so long.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to I'm supposed to hand the world a better country, a better nation to my children than I received.
Right.
And we're not doing that.
No, because the hippies are in charge, and it's
Oh,
now.
it's a
trying-
combination
yeah,
of hippies and cronies.
it's-
So we got businessmen that are like, as long as I get an extra $1, we can sell everything to China. So, you know what? I'm going to sell your kids to China next.
Oh my god.
And then you get the hippies are like, everything should be free. And everything's a social construct. And I'm a woman, you're a woman, that screen is a woman, the microphone's a woman.
And
The world is woman.
So, I can't see. Speaking of that, segue into our next topic, which has kind of been a huge deal, and a lot of people don't realize that it's happening. And it's right in front of your face, and you do have some rhinos that go in there, gross, and that completely are like, oh, this is a great idea. The drag hour at our libraries. Is that what it's called, or
Yep.
something like that?
Drag queen story hour.
Yeah.
All right. So
For children, by the way.
Yep, for children. So I have a nuanced position on this. Individual liberty, right? If you want to dress like a drag queen, I don't care. As a matter of fact, I know Lady Maga.
Yes, I know.
Great.
So do I.
Great guy.
Great
cool,
guy.
cool as hell. And he knows he's a guy.
Yes.
He just is a drag queen, like the old RuPaul style.
No.
So I'm like, I don't care. Your choices are your choices. And you know what? If it's a sin, you'll work it out with God.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you'll work it out with God. It's not my job to judge you. As a Christian man, I walk in grace. So as long as you are a good person and you interact as a good person, I don't have an issue with
Right.
your personal choices. It doesn't affect me.
Exactly.
It's not my bedroom. It's not my personal life. It's not my personal choices. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Until it does affect me.
Until it does. So, as far as Drag Queen Story Hour, my only issue was that it was in the public library.
Mm-hmm.
So is government funding this? I don't believe government should be teaching sexuality.
Mm-mm.
It shouldn't be teaching religion. And it shouldn't be doing Drag Queen Story Hour or transgender Billy needs 3 mommies that identify as cats. Like, it's not the government's role to be involved in this.
No.
Now, if you want to do it privately, not only do I support you in you making decisions for your own personal life, I support the parents who want to take their kids to it. and I will protect your right. I will stand outside with a gun to make sure nobody infringes upon your right to do that. Privately. You want to do a pride parade? Not only am I okay with your pride parade, you know what? Congratulations for coming out and feeling comfortable with yourself. I have no issue with it. Again, if that's a sin, God will work it out with you at the pearly gates. We all are going to have to stand before God at one point,
Right.
and we'll answer for everything. I'm not a perfect man. I'm a sinful guy. I'm not going to pretend that I'm so righteous and perfect that I should be judging you for your choices.
No.
It's not my job. You'll work it out with God. But I will protect your right to live however the hell you want to live, as long as it's not infringing on anybody else's rights to do the same. So that means I don't fund what you do. You don't fund what I do. You're not funding my churches. I'm not funding your transition. I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, you know, I love that way that you put it exactly.
Now, I understand why the left complains about the right. The average voter on the right is really that accepting. As long as what you're doing doesn't affect me, I don't care.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not shoving it down my throat and forcing me to pay for it, I don't care. If it's not infringing on my rights, I don't care. If I want to change it and I want a moral society, I have to engage in a culture, make movies, make music, be involved in my community, show what proper masculinity looks like.
Thank you.
Be a proper man. Be a steward of my community. If I want to fix things, then I need to do that.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of it, I don't have to agree with your choices, but I do have to accept that you have the right to make them.
That's why we have this beautiful country.
Now, the people who control the Republican Party, the old school, now the average age in Congress is like, what, 70 years old?
Ew. Oh,
It's like 70. It's so old.
very old.
The average age in the country is like around 50-something.
That's terrible.
But 50-something should be around the average age in Congress, too. It should reflect the... Well, we have incumbents that have been there for 40-plus years.
I know, longer than we've been on this planet.
Once again, term limits, people. Term limits. We are a federalist society. We're a republic. Enacted at a state level. Stop waiting for the federal government to solve all your problems. Enacted at a state level. Again, enacted at a state level. But
but these are things that are actually now infringing upon. So when I take my child,
hold up for just a minute.
Yeah.
The people in D.C. that we've been complaining about, that we call rhinos, they really are. It's not Republican in name only. It's conservative in name only. They don't believe in conserving the Constitution, the Republic, for which it stands, and the inalienable rights of the individual. They were perfectly happy all year to trample on your rights, whether it's a Republican governor or a Democrat governor. They had no problem telling. Greg Abbott flat out told his citizens, do what I tell you or you will receive a fine or be imprisoned.
That is true. Yeah, we got that.
Hair salon,
everywhere.
Just throwing it out there. So if you think our Republican governors are better, they're not. They just have a different social prescription for society, and they happen to be better than Democrats on more issues.
Well, Massachusetts
like
sees that.
Guns. Like, I hold your politicians accountable. This is why I say fanboy politics. Take me for what I am. Hold me accountable for the rest. My job is not to do what I want to do. It's to represent you within the boundaries that I can prescribe by the Constitution. So that means I'm not going to make a promise to go to D.C. and fix local problems because I can't. But I am an activist. So I'll be right there, boots on the ground, laced up and ready to fix them with my own two hands. Because I'm a blue-collar guy. I work for a living. Now, on the flip side of that, you go to D.C. and your job is to represent your state and protect them from overreach by government. It's to make sure that your state's values, the live free or die spirit of New Hampshire, is reflected in the people that we send to D.C.
Yeah.
Like I said, New Hampshire's a very libertarian state. That means we're pro-gun, we're no tax income state, no income tax state, and we believe in letting people live however the hell they want to live. That's why we don't have a lot of the issues most states do.
No, you don't, especially where being right below you, and you see all of the problems that we have. We're Massachusetts, you know, we have ridiculous crime rates. We have the strict gun laws, the red flag laws. You know, they
Yeah.
want to take away our businesses that
I
are
mean,
actually manufacturers.
Most of the problems that are here in New Hampshire in our state legislature that have become so partisan recently have been brought here. They've been imported
Yeah.
here from other states. I'm
I
like,
know.
I don't want you to import your crap here. If you move to New Hampshire, understand why we're better.
Yeah.
Yes, like dodgeball. We're better than you,
Dodgeball.
and we know it.
That is so, yeah.
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 New
and-
Hampshire is better. We're the best state in the country, and I'm not going to give that up. I completely own it, and I will be arrogant about it.
Well, we have all the sports teams, so.
That's okay.
But
Last time I checked, they kind of been crapping on the flag in the country, and the NFL has become a fascist backing organization
absolutely.
that has an issue with Tim Tebow taking a knee to
To
pray, but don't have an issue with Kaepernick taking a knee to protest. And I'm like,
Still don't understand why
See,
he's protesting.
I look at it like this: I protected your right to do both. And if your employer, which the NFL is their employer, is okay with you protesting in uniform, then you're allowed to protest in uniform, whether I like it or not.
Yeah, but you
But I won't watch
don't
it.
disrespect the flag. That's the thing. This is the country. That flag is a symbol of what we fought and died for.
You know what we should have done? The proper thing to do would have been to look at what they were actually complaining about. The police brutality that they were complaining about is actually the governments in their local areas
Yeah.
using the police force as a tax arm. Because the police department was actually creating revenue for the city by fines and tickets and stuff like that. They were using it as a tax arm. Well, do you use the police against people that have lawyers, like the Karens in the suburbs? No. You use it in deep blue areas where you can illegalize pretty much anything, like 64-ounce sodas,
Yeah.
jaywalking, broken taillights, stuff like that, smoking on a sidewalk. Not $1,000 fine for not wearing a mask outside.
I know, and yeah,
Arresting people
I
for
was-
jogging on a bike path.
that's what they. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. They're
so
that extreme. It is
the-
just like, oh my god.
People are saying like, "Oh, we have a police state." Well, last time I checked, see, I backed the blue.
Me too, 100%.
I backed the blue. I went to the New Hampshire Public Safety Trade Show to see what our law enforcement were coming up with, because I wanted to know. I see the main problem being a lack of training,
Mm-hmm.
because you graduate the police force and you're expected to immediately go onto the street and you'll learn it as you go, rookie.
Right.
The problem is training is expensive. Good cops will always rise to the top. Bad cops, the ones that do the bare minimum, will always fall to the bottom. Now, in a state like New Hampshire, we don't reap the repercussions of bad cops very often. We don't have a police brutality issue and stuff like that. But there are other states with large police forces that do. And it's because that lowest common denominator, the one that good cops have been trying to get rid of, because most of these bad cops are reported by good cops,
Mm-hmm.
they want to get rid of nothing. Nobody hates a bad cop more than good cops. They make the rest of them look bad. It's like when I was active duty. No one hates the shitbag more than the rest of the unit. They make us look bad. They want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
We need to give cops the resources that they need. We need to give them the hand-to-hand training that they require to not have to escalate force. We need to stop making policy that forces unnecessary interaction between the police and the citizenry.
Mm-hmm.
Stop illegalizing mundane, normal activities that you just don't agree with.
I couldn't agree with you more, and
Yeah.
I think that's the major problem. And they also don't go and ask the officers before
Mhm.
they go and implement changes based on Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's usually
Bad
always
policing
Chicago.
is always bad policy.
Right.
Bad policy creates bad policing. Police are supposed to protect and serve. Where you find police who regularly overstep what is constitutional in the country because they're following orders, that is law enforcement, unbridled law enforcement, not protecting and serving. Police also have a duty to uphold the Constitution. You
Right.
should know what a lawful order is and what an unlawful order is. Our sheriffs are our constitutional bastion of freedom. They're supposed to protect the citizenry, even when the state is wrong. What we need to do is start empowering our sheriffs again.
Yeah.
We need to give cops the training and the funding they require so that they can keep up their training.
Yes.
We need to give them the mental health, so that they can go and see people after they show up to a child that's been stabbed
There's
or
a
shot.
lot that they have to deal with.
Some
that
of
they
these guys
see,
have
and
worse PTSD than combat
oh my
veterans.
gosh, I've heard stories, and I've
Yeah.
you know, being out there and talking to the officers and hearing and knowing what
Mhm.
the violence level in Massachusetts has been,
Yeah.
and what some of these officers have walked
Like,
in on.
I don't defend BLM and all the stuff that they do.
No, they terrorize
And
the country.
And I don't defend all the crazy wokeness. What I do say is there's a better argument where we can get our point across. And our point is, all right, you say that we have a policing issue. I agree. Let's stop making policy that forces the police to be in an adversarial relationship with their communities.
Mhm.
Because if you're in an adversarial relationship with your community, when you need cooperation from the community to catch a bad guy, you don't have it.
Right.
When you pull somebody over to question them, they're antagonistic at you because they've already been pulled over due to bad policy.
Right. We used to have officers in school at an elementary, middle, and high school
Yeah.
that always coming in and doing stuff, and you know the officers were most of
That's-
the time were the ones who ran all the little leagues or
That's
the
why
basketball camps.
I like the police athletic league. Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. I love it when police engage in the community.
Yeah.
That's what good cops do. Most cops are good cops.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to cops all the time. I don't have an issue with them.
Me neither.
That's why, and the left is trying to create a bigger issue than there is. There's an issue in their areas, and it's because of how they govern.
Correct.
We don't experience it in our areas because we govern differently. So, yeah, there is a policing issue. Maybe you should stop telling people how to live their lives, and maybe you'll stop arresting people for plastic straws
Yeah,
and stuff
oh my
like that.
gosh. And actually,
So the
doing-
policing issue is very much a policy issue.
Because the police are afraid to do anything right now. Because anything that they do, it's going to be like
Everyone's
it's
retiring,
everyone's racist. Yeah, they're leaving. You know,
You
and
can't get.
no.
You got a whole bunch of young people that don't want to be cops anymore.
No, and he used to like my son loves police, fire, everything. And you know he's
Yeah.
only 4, but he loves it. He's just
Yeah.
like
I'm a Marine, and right now the military has a recruitment problem. A lot of people, a lot of the old school people want to get out because they're seeing what they loved about the military being destroyed because they're manufacturing issues that aren't issues in the military.
And we want our strongest men on the line and women that are out there, but we
Yeah.
want our strongest men
Yeah.
on the line.
You want the best,
The best of
and
the
it's
best.
all about mission effectiveness.
Yeah.
Accomplish the mission. So anything that subtracts from accomplishing the mission, guess what? The military is not an equal opportunity place.
No.
You can't be in if you got asthma. You can't be in if you got flat feet.
Exactly.
Can't be in if you got a whole bunch of issues.
Yes, there are certain
If you
things.
have mental issues, you can't be active
No.
duty. So why are we pretending as if everyone has a right to serve? No, you don't.
No.
No, you don't.
We need the best up there.
We need the best. China's training their guys to be the best. India's training their guys to be the best.
That's-
They're actually doing the exact opposite, and we're training our guys how to be good women.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
And-
I don't need weak people
No.
on the
I
battlefield.
need
That's
strength.
dangerous. I
Yeah.
want when people look at our military, be like, God, there's a whole bunch of people I don't want to
Yeah.
mess
A
with.
bunch of big dudes don't want to go over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want them to be like, damn, see, even that woman over there, that female Marine, that female airman looks like she's going to kick the crap out
Yes.
of us. I want China to look at the women in our military and be like, I don't even want to test them.
Just like, okay, we're
Yeah.
good. But we don't have that because they want to dehumanize men so much. And why
Hmm?
are we doing that to our men?
See, this is where I say I'm an old school feminist, equal rights, and acceptance in society. We have third and fourth wave feminism right
I
now.
don't even know. Yeah.
So first wave feminism was equal rights.
Yeah.
Second wave feminism was acceptance in society and in the workplace of those equal rights.
Yeah.
Then you had militancy was third wave.
Yeah.
I don't need a man, men are crap, they're worthless.
Yeah.
Then you have fourth wave, which is regression, where special rights, I'm a man, you're a man, the microphone's a man, Or I'm sorry, I'm a woman, you're a woman, the chair's a woman, the desk is
yeah.
a woman, God is a woman,
This guy is a
the
woman.
earth is a woman.
And now we have men qualifying under women's sports for.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that either.
I'm not, especially when it's the Olympics. This is women's sport.
Biologically, I mean,
We know it, and
those two men that transitioned, they were at the slowest guys on their track team, and they slaughtered the females.
Right.
They slaughtered the female team. It wasn't even close. They blew past them like they were standing still.
Because you're a man and this is a woman's sport. It's different.
Yeah, I don't want my daughter to be boxing a guy. I don't care whether you transition or not. Biologically, you have the ability to crack my daughter's skull.
And that is something that is not being reported.
Yeah.
On how many young women and young ladies are being hurt.
We're screwing these girls out of their scholarships.
Yeah.
We're screwing them out of their education.
For what?
How many women go to college for sports scholarships and stuff like that? That we're screwing them.
Yeah, now they're not getting those scholarships because this person who identifies as a woman wants to take. And where are the women standing up for this?
If you want a sport that you don't feel comfortable in the men's sport, and you want to, make a transgender transgender league.
Right.
I don't care.
They did that. I mean, that's what women were like. Well, I want to play, and yet I can't compete with the men, so I'm going to go and make a women's league.
I've met women that can go toe to toe with men.
Yeah.
It's rare, but I've met them, and I have no problem with it because I believe if you set a standard, and there are women that want to meet that standard and beat that standard, they will. They will, and they've done it throughout history.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're saying that the standard's not fair? No, it's a fair standard. Everyone has the shot at beating the standard. The people who want to beat the standard will. In the military, the best female soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors, Coast Guardsmen,
Most of them were airmen.
Space Force, if you want to include that.
Highly disappointed in that logo.
Yeah, Star Trek. But if they want the best female military personnel, if you notice, they don't identify as women. They identify as Marines, airmen, sailors, soldiers. They identify by their job description. And that's why they excel at their job description, because their criteria for success is not being a female Marine, it is being the best Marine. And I was like, every time I meet a woman that's like, I'm going to show you how wrong you are.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to show you how great I am. I'm like, yes! Yes, bring it on. I'm like, I love it when people aspire to excellence because it gets my blood pumping. It makes me want to do better.
Right?
The more people around me that aspire to excellence, the more I aspire to I inspire to excellence.
That's why I got in and started running, because everybody was like, well, you can't do it. You can't do it. You have to be in politics. You have to do this first. You have to do that.
Oh, yeah. You got to be in local government. Then you got to be in state government. Then you got to go for state senate. Then the governorship.
It's like...
And then maybe a House seat. Then maybe a Senate seat.
And you got to go to all this schooling and all these training and all this stuff. And I was just like, no.
I'm like, that hasn't really worked out for us, because last time I checked, the congressional approval rate is somewhere around like low double digits, like 15%. Which... Yeah, everyone's like, well, I hate Congress as a whole, but I like my particular politician, but all the other politicians are dirt. That's kind of like everyone's like, I hate the media lies, except for my guy that I listen to exclusively, and he is always right. I question absolutely nothing. And I'm like, no, see, I double check, even if you're my friend, and I know a lot of people in media now, even if you're my friend, I still double check. I still make my decisions for myself, and it's not an attack on you. It's because I don't trust what I hear. Right. It's the believe half of what you see, or and even less of what you hear.
Yeah,
and that's how I operate on is trust but verify.
Exactly. You gotta verify a lot, because everything right now is misconstrued and twisted in a way, and you can see it just in the wording and everything. And if you go into Massachusetts, dudes, it's just like everywhere. And the
Yeah.
canceling of
Yeah.
everything.
Now, what I don't want to do is I don't want to create our own cancel culture too, because I'm seeing that start to spring up, the anti-cancel culture in which we cancel everything that we don't like too. And I'm like, that's doing the exact same thing. I'm like, that's not. If you don't want to support an organization with your dollars, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if there's a cult, if there is an organization that goes against your values, don't support it.
Right.
And build
But
your
then
own.
you don't have, like, you don't
Yeah.
need to go sit there and attack these people because you don't like what they're doing and you don't
Yeah.
support it.
Like, I don't want to tear Twitter down and tear Facebook down. If I don't support you, I'm going to build my own.
Right.
And if I'm building my own, then I'm going to make it as free as I want yours to be. If I want freedom, I want freedom.
That's how it used to be. And I mean,
Yeah.
like, Facebook
That's like,
is
look at the
ridiculous.
shoes.
Yeah.
Everyone, so we all crap on Nikes and Jordans because they're made in China.
Oh, I hate Nikes just because they're
Um,
uncomfortable.
I can't say I haven't worn Nikes in a while, but
See?
my whole thing is, if you're gonna crap on these companies because they're made in China, you don't agree with slave labor. You're also going to have to crap on pretty much all the clothes that you wear and everything you buy from Walmart, and you're going to have to build your own. Right now, I can't put my finger on any American company made in America that makes basketball shoes. Like,
yeah, no, I
I-
can't think. But
Like, we have two American sneaker companies I'm aware of that are
Yeah.
large production companies, New Balance and Brooks.
and New Balance used to be a Randolph-based company.
Yeah, and they make good products. They're made in America, but they don't make basketball shoes.
No.
So I'm like, you're missing an entire market. Hire a couple college kids that have good design ideas, make your shoes look really, really cool, and start designing them so that people will wear them for
But
fashion
you have
reasons.
to do it here, and
Yeah.
it puts jobs and production, and it's lifting so many people
Yeah.
up. Why
Yeah.
are you shipping jobs overseas? And the market that you're targeting is the market that you're claiming is struggling and disproportionately targeted and don't get the help or anything.
Yeah.
But yet,
Do
all
the
of-
manufacturing in those neighborhoods.
all of these
See,
big celebrities.
I got an economic plan for that. I got an economic. That's a good segue because I got an economic plan for that. I want to cut the corporate tax rate to 15%, and I would cut it to 12% for any company relocate or repatriating their
Exactly.
operations and manufacturing in U.S. economically distressed markets. So those Midwest towns that got shut down, I want to bring your jobs back.
Yeah.
Those inner cities that got shut down, I want to bring your jobs back.
Okay, that's
See,
President
politicians sent your jobs overseas. I want to bring your jobs back
Yeah.
by making our market so attractive to the rest of the world. Deregulation, lower taxes, and I want to cut the income tax down for the average citizen. 10% across the board. Not
Wow.
a step, 10% of $1 billion, still a hell of a lot more than 10% of $50,000 a year.
Yes.
And I want to start that tax floor out at $30,000 a year. $30,000 a year, that's just above the poverty level. I don't want to tax a guy who's poor making $10,000 a year,
Right.
10% of his $10,000. And I want a $10,000 deductible per adult. So you're making $40,000 a year before you're paying $1 in taxes. At $40,001 a year, now you'll start paying taxes.
That
In
well, depending on
$2,500.
what state you live in, because
Yeah.
you live in Massachusetts, you're like, so.
Oh, but the states can tax as much as they want because that's how it's supposed to be.
I know, but
Like,
also,
and we shouldn't be bailing out blue states for the salt tax.
No.
Your state wants to tax the living hell out of you, and they want to take a leg off your firstborn. Well, you know what? Tell your state to stop doing it.
I mean, didn't we
Stop.
throw tea into the harbor?
Yeah. Stop telling your state it's okay for them to take more money from you, as long as they do some new social program. Last I checked, the government wastes a ton of money. There's
So much
corruption charges nationwide on a regular basis. We find embezzled money on a regular basis. Stop letting the government tax the hell out of you and then not have to answer for what they do with the
Well, it's
money.
'cause people are so uninformed because you have you know,
Yeah.
the news
Yeah.
or the media out there who is just stating exactly what they want people to hear and not about the real
A
problems
lot
that
of
are
the times, the
happening.
media is honestly controlled opposition.
It is.
It
It's
really is. It's a
horrible.
bunch of people, like I said, talking points of the language of pundits, politicians, and media moguls. They're not designed to solve the problem. They're designed to one up each other and feed red meat to the base to convince everyone that you're right. They are self affirmation websites, they're self affirmation organizations,
Why did
and
they
they're
stop?
propaganda
And
organizations.
and that's the thing is why aren't we getting more conservatives
Hmm.
into the media on these other stations,
Like, if you really want to change things, I'd say about 80% of the country needs to register independent.
and then have your independent voice heard?
I mean, the most consistently independent area of the country is actually the suburbs. They get what they want every election because both parties have to fight for their vote.
And they go out there,
That's dual domination right there.
you
Dual
know,
domination is when both parties actually have to address the voter and stop fighting with each other. That's solutions.
but we don't even have up here. It's completely different,
Yeah.
and it drives me insane because you're supposed to be representing the people.
Yeah.
And going out there for what the people want and knowing your community.
Yeah.
And when you have politicians that are out there and, you know, they're state reps and you've never even heard of them, know what they look like, and they're supposed to be representing you?
Yeah.
I've never even met this person.
I want to do the largest deregulation in history. I want to cut the tax burden down for the average person to such a minuscule level. Like, I'm completely okay with the child tax credit up to 3 children. We're not paying you to be a baby factory, but at the same time, we also want you to have enough kids to maintain an American culture.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly fine that we have subcultures in
And they do
America. That's why
penalize you for
America
having,
is.
getting married. They penalize you for having children. It's just like, oh, wait a minute. This is
I don't
the
want to
American
penalize.
dream.
I don't want to penalize you for having kids, and I don't want to hurt you for having kids. And I don't want to penalize you for getting married or hurt you for getting married.
Right.
I want it to be fair, equal protection under the law. So whatever choices you make, this is the standard, and it's an across the board standard that applies to everyone. At the point where you decide to choose to do something different, that's up to you.
Right.
That's up to you, and that's the way the government is supposed to work: is a live and let live.
Yeah, but it doesn't. And
No.
we know that.
No, we got a lot of politicians who they go to D.C. and they forget why they were supposed to go there in the first place.
Well, that's because they sell out, and you know they're bought and paid for by the devil.
Yeah.
And once you sell your soul to the devil, there's no turning back.
Well, I mean, look at one of the things that most people aren't aware of is you get to D.C. and in order to get a seat on a committee or so on and so forth, you have to fundraise. You have to fundraise a certain amount of money. They give you your marker that you're supposed to hit, and you're like, oh, well, you want to be on this committee, you want to be on this seat,
Yeah.
you need to fundraise X amount of dollars. I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's wrong. I mean, I understand money runs everything, but it's still wrong.
It is.
I want the best person for the job.
That has the experience and that can do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It
Like,
shouldn't be about.
I look at, like, if you make, like we said about women, if you make the criteria the best person for the job, there are going to be plenty of minorities and women and transgenders and gays and stuff that meet the criteria. Choose one of them. They've met the criteria. I don't have to lower the standard to
No.
choose somebody. As a matter of fact, I think that's I think that's extremely condescending.
It is.
Every time someone gives me a standard to meet, I'm like, not only will I meet it, I'll be better.
Yes, I'm gonna exceed it.
Yeah. Like, if the standard is to go to D.C. and be a good representative of my state, I'll be the best representative of my state you have ever seen.
Right.
That's my goal.
Exactly.
It's to change how we do things.
And to
And-
make a difference.
Yeah, it's to actually make a difference. And I understand that seems idealistic, and people are like, "Oh, well, I want experience in my politicians."
If you don't have ideas, then
Yeah.
you're never gonna grow. I
I'm
mean,
Every time we elect experienced politicians, what do we normally get? We get somebody that has a website with no policy on it, no actual
and
solutions.
what's the experience.
Yeah.
You've been in politics forever.
Yeah.
Your family has, it's been like a generation passed down.
We always elect somebody. It's like, oh well, they went to this school and they got this degree,
Yes.
or they put bullet points on their website. Oh well, he said this thing and he said that thing. He said this focus group phrase and this focus group phase and this focus group phrase, and I'm like, or I actually looked at legislation. I actually read legislation, and I actually went, you know what? Dissecting the problem as a normal person on the ground, what DC does that affects me, this is how we could fix it.
Right.
And then I put that on my page. A realistic solution to the problem.
Exactly.
Fixing immigration is honestly not that hard.
No.
Build the wall, keep the Remain in Mexico policy,
Yes.
start letting people on their merit,
How
not
you
based on
say.
being our neighbors, not based on some demographic that we want to hit, based on their merit.
Right.
There will be plenty of people worldwide that will meet that criteria, and then make sure that we are only letting people in after we've taken care of Americans first.
Which we have to do.
Yeah.
We've got to take care of
We have
home.
Republicans just sponsored a bill for another amnesty. And I'm sitting here going,
What?
so hold up, we just came out of a pandemic. A whole bunch of people are out of a job. We have 16 million people who don't have jobs that want to work. And you're going to ship in a whole bunch of people from overseas who come from countries where $2 an hour is the average wage. So minimum wage at $10 to $13 an hour to $14 an hour, depending on what state you're living in, they're making up to what, 7 times what they normally make? They're willing to work for minimum wage. Guess what? Wages are not going to rise when you have a large population willing to work for below minimum wage.
Right.
That would accept under the table work at 5 to 6 times what they normally make.
And they will. And
Yeah.
they will. And it's hurting
So
the
you're
American people.
So you're regulating business, which messes with production because now that business can't grow as fast. Regulations are usually made by crony businessmen who partner with government officials so that they can price their competition out of the workplace. Case in point, the majority of people in Congress are lawyers.
Yeah.
They're lawyers and professional politicians. They're not experts in any field in particular. So what do? They go to the expert in that field and they ask for advice. Well, that expert in that field is the top of the industry. It's the same crony businessman that you complain about on a regular basis. That crony businessman now crafts regulations that, while it may be an inconvenience for him for a short amount of time, he gets to either acquire or keep a large market share. So he's either protecting himself from new competition, or he's snuffing out the competition he already has.
Right.
By crafting regulation that is going to hurt them and keep him in business. For instance, the Affordable Care Act had minimums that each health insurance organization
Right.
had to meet. So what happened? Minuteman Health in New England died. It died on the vine. It was one of the best health insurance programs in New England. It was, what, 50% of the cost of Blue Cross Blue Shield,
Yeah.
and they snuffed it out.
And
So I'm sitting here going, congratulations. They're like, oh, well, we have competition. We have like 4 or 5
It's not
nationwide insurance companies. I was like, that's not competition. That's actually a cartel. It's
Yes.
just as bad as a monopoly. When you have multiple organizations that all get together and go, all right, you take that region, and I'll take this region, I'll take that region, and we'll all be happy with our extremely large guaranteed market shares. And the government just forced you to have our product.
Yeah, I'm
So-
still upset about that because I still get like reimbursement checks
Yeah.
from a plan that I never enrolled in, never knew that I had, and that,
Yeah,
thank
so
you,
you-
Obama, and
yeah.
now there's Biden care. So,
So-
are they going to do the same thing?
Yeah, so you end up with a cartel that is backed by government. I can't name a monopoly that's existed in America that has not been backed by the government,
Mm-hmm.
that has not been favored by the government, that has not had favorable regulations given to them, that the government has not copped for on a regular basis. So maybe we should stop letting these crony businessmen and lobbyists write our legislation.
I couldn't agree more, and
Yeah.
especially when you go and start looking
Yeah.
at what's being put in.
And that's just the production side. That's just the production
That's
side.
just
So
the
that's not
production
even including like, okay, so we raise production. We also raise the requirements of what it costs to have an employee. So on the front end side, we raise wages.
Right.
Well, on the back end side, we also raise the HR costs and everything required to have an employee. So we're double dipping. We just doubled the cost of each individual person. As we double the cost just to operate, then we double the labor cost. Congratulations. Your company has less opportunity to grow and it can employ less people. Yes, you'll be making more money, but it just fired your buddy.
Yeah.
It just fired your buddy. So now the unemployment rate goes up. Now you have more people feeding out of the trough that aren't paying into it. Now the government does the same thing again, trying to fix the same problem it created.
And that's the thing.
So I'm
the
like,
government has been creating more problems.
How about we deregulate the economy and we start letting these companies grow as fast as they want to grow? How about we limit the HR costs? We cut down the HR costs of each employee so that your back end cost of your job, of your wages, doesn't subtract from what actually goes into your pocket.
And you see, now you're dipping into these politicians' pockets, and they can't have you.
Because that means lobbyist dollars that don't go into their pockets.
Right.
That means funding that doesn't go to their campaigns. That's book deals where you write a book and your book sucks, but then some dude with a big bank account comes and buys up, 100,000 copies. They buy 100,000 copies of your book. And if you think that only happens on one side of the aisle, that happens on both sides of the aisle. Again, the establishment in D.C. is bipartisan.
It is, and that is the problem, and that's why we need to get people like us into office.
We need to change the game, and it's about time we start sending normal, average, everyday, blue-collar people with a great understanding of the Constitution and the founding principles to D.C. Not to lord over the citizens, but to represent the citizens.
Yes, because we speak mostly for them. We are them.
The job of a good representative is to take the arrows and the bullets that you can.
Oh my gosh, do they come every single day? And I am more than happy to stand up there and keep taking all the shots and the hits as long as the people that I'm representing, their voices are heard.
I got broad shoulders and I got a decent chest. I'm willing to take the bullets and the arrows for you. And I got a thick jaw. I'm willing to take the hits on the chin.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Go. Oh yes, please do donate. That's another thing. That's another thing. The reason the left beats us at donations is because people underestimate their financial power. Everyone goes, "Oh, well, I'm on a fixed income. I can't donate."
Right.
Or I'm $5.
$5.
That is a cup of coffee and a donut.
Don't even. Oh, in Massachusetts, just a cup of coffee.
Yeah, but that's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So here you go. Here's some strategy for you. $5 a week recurring donation for a 2-year election cycle from 10,000 people. Now in New Hampshire, 200 or just under 200,000 people voted for Matt Mowerson's last election. I like Matt; he's a nice guy. Just under 200,000 people voted for him. If only 10,000 of those people donated $5 a week, at the end of the election cycle, he would have fundraised $5.2 million.
Isn't crazy?
$5.2 million. That, in a state like New Hampshire, that's a winning election.
Yes.
That's a winning election. If you think money does not win elections, you've been lied to. See, the lobbyists want you to think that you don't have the power to win an election.
Exactly.
The politicians want you to think that you don't have the power to win the election. If you grassroots fund like that, and you do it to, say, your local state rep, your school board member, so school board member, town selectman or mayor, your state rep, and your congressional candidate. You have now put 4 people, a consistent line of checks and balances against people intruding on your rights to protect you from government, from the overreaches of government. People that you trust, that you know will fight and die to protect you. Put those people in office. That reoccurring donation changes the game. Now that's only 10,000 people out of just under 200,000. Imagine if you doubled, tripled, quadrupled it. You would basically destroy lobbyists overnight. They wouldn't be able to compete with grassroots funding. No. We did this for Donald Trump.
And we can do it again. And
Yeah.
people need to do that for us. For the
Please, people, look at the grassroots funding numbers for Donald Trump.
Yes.
We
and
went toe to toe with lobbyists.
everything. And I get that a lot. Like right now I tell people, no dollar amount is too small.
Mhm.
$1, $5, $3. Make it reoccurring.
Yeah.
Even if you can just do it once a month.
Yeah.
It's still reoccurring. I have
$5 a week, people.
right.
A
I've
cup
got
of coffee.
15,500
Yeah.
followers. Like it
Hell, in Massachusetts, a pack of cigarettes is what, $12?
oh my gosh. I don't even know.
It's like $12.
It's 15.
Forego a pack of cigarettes. That's 2 weeks of donations right there.
Yeah.
That's one pack of cigarettes.
And
Smoke
even
one less cigarette a day.
If every person just donated $1 every single month, it's a consistent
Yeah.
$15,000 a month, right? And I'm growing so.
200,000 people donating $1 a month.
Yeah, just think about that and how quick
Right.
it's.
Or
you don't even see it.
200,000 people vote $1 a week.
$1 a week.
$1 a week. That would overpower anybody.
You have it.
If you don't
going
wanna-
around and changing your
Yeah.
car.
If you don't want establishment people to go to DC, stop electing people who spend an entire career prepping to go to DC.
Yeah.
That's
and lobbying for not the people.
let's be common sense. If I spent my entire career prepping to become a doctor, what is the likelihood that I'm going to go into being a doctor and then decide I'm not going to be in that field for the rest of my life?
After I spent all this time doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Like the people that we send to DC are like, oh well, they went to Brown University and they went to this and they went to that and they got this degree and they got that degree and they kissed this person's ass and that person's ass.
But what
Well,
have they done?
congratulations. Well, you just sent somebody to DC that's going to do exactly that.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being in studio with me today, Julian. You have been listening to the Rayla Campbell Show live on WSMN 1590 AM 95.3 FM and also live on the web at WSMN.live and streaming on my Facebook page at Rayla Campbell from Massachusetts. I have run my own board today. This is so exciting. We will be back next week every Thursday from 9 to 11. Please join in and make sure you get out there and support Julian as well as myself. Thank you guys so much.
Julian4newhampshire.com.
And it's RaylaForMA.com. Please join in next week. We'll be talking more politics, more everyday life, and make sure you get out there and help us become the next lieutenant governor and state rep.
WSMN 95.3 FM.